Hello, I'm Dr. Marcus.
And I'm Charlie, and this is the Mood Booster podcast.
In this episode, we have Ben Kelleher, a very, very exciting episode. We're talking about what to do when motivation wavers. We're reflecting on willpower.
Exactly. Ben Kelleher is actually a very, very interesting person. As we've said, this whole episode's on willpower. He's a ultra marathon runner, run over 100 kilometers. He's actually run a 2:48 marathon, which, if you don't quite know, that's insane. Triathlete and many, many more experiences, which we talk about.
Yeah, I mean, what hasn't Ben done? He's just met Barack Obama, which is insane. He's working with Samsung. He has his own podcast, Running for the Bus, which is phenomenal and bringing so many people together to talk about running and the experience of running. He just does so much. Also has raised £10,000 for incredible charities, all while having his own production in the West End going on. He's just does everything, and it's so cool for us to sit down and talk with him about his lived experience and sort of where he has been and where he is now and how he got there, and how sort of willpower and motivation or lack thereof and wavering willpower also has led him to where he is today. We think you'll get a lot from it. We certainly did. It was an incredible episode, and please enjoy. In this podcast, we share evidence-based tools, tips, and advice to help you boost your mood, improve your well-being, and find joy in the everyday.
We talk about life's highs, lows, and everything in between with real stories and reflections from our own journeys.
With pillars rooted in introspection, community, and gratitude, this is the home of Wellbeing and Joy.
Hello, everyone.
Buongiorno.
Welcome back to the Mood Booster podcast.
Hello, everyone. How
I'm
are we?
really excited.
What episode is it, Charlie?
Episode 34.
34, some might say.
34.
34.
Welcome back to episode 34. We have a guest with us, don't we?
Nice,
Very-
you do. Hello.
very
Welcome,
exciting.
Ben.
Thanks. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. Thanks for joining us.
It's an absolute pleasure. This, as I said to you before, this is my first podcast as a guest, so it feels quite odd to be on this side of it. But
Well, we're very honoured that you're here as our guest and to be on your first podcast on the other side of the seat. So thank you
Nice.
so much for being here. It's lovely to have
pleasure.
Yeah, if you didn't already know, Ben actually has his own podcast as well, Running for the Bus. So
Yes.
thanks for joining the Mood Booster family.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's so great to be here. Obviously, I know yourself, Marcus. We've met before, and meeting Charlie for the first time. Although we've spoken before today, obviously. But it's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Repping the merch and everything.
100%.
Get over to YouTube as always if you're on a streaming service. Of course, we love all of them. But
The frame
you can
for
see
this
us on YouTube.
100%. The frame for this one is crisp and lovely. So
Crisp.
Well, what are we speaking about in this episode, Marcus?
Today, we're talking about how to stay consistent when motivation runs out, reflecting on willpower.
Willpower. Super exciting. This is a topic that, I know a little bit about, but I'm keen to just learn so much more.
Nice.
If you don't know, with Ben, he's an absolute powerhouse overachiever is probably just the word to use.
All of the above. We'll stop gassing you up and give you time to just introduce yourself in a second. But we really wanted Ben to come on here because of his background. He, through his own willpower, his own doing, has achieved so much. To name a few, his own podcast, ultra marathons. What is it?
Over 100 kilometers.
Sorry,
he's run.
248.
248 marathon runner, at the moment. Yeah, man.
That's nice.
Which is incredible, and just so many other things, some of which we need to talk about today because they've only just happened and are very exciting. Sorry to keep you waiting, listeners, but yes, you're gonna have to wait around, but some very cool public figures you've met recently.
You two, obviously.
Of course. You're welcome.
But basically, Ben has done so much in from his own doing, and I felt very inspired the first time I met him and said to Charlie, we've got to get this guy on. Our listeners are going to love to hear his story and just hear some advice, tools and tips from you about how you do what you do and how you stay sort of on track when your motivation is low, or all of those things. So stick around because Ben's got a lot of wisdom to share, and we're excited for you to hear it.
A lot of willpower, 100%.
Nice. What an intro. Thanks, guys. God, you built me up hugely there.
So tell our listeners, if they don't know who you are, a little bit about you, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure. So I feel like the build-up's been so high. I'm like, thank you guys. Thank you
I
so
was
much.
born on a Wednesday, stormy morning.
My favourite colour is...
Yeah, I just love. So for me, I as you say, now a 2:48 marathon runner, ultra marathon runner, podcast host, running for the bus, as mentioned. As well as that, my background originally is in acting, performing, producing. I did my first show on the West End when I was 5. I just turned 5. I started acting and performing when I was 4.
What was the show?
It was just a special showcase of Motown and things that were going on at the Dominion Theatre.
Cool.
So I did that there, and then since then have worked through theatre, have worked in film and TV, and obviously now as well with the podcast and everything like that, doing more presenting at the International Running Expo, which will probably just happened after this episode goes out, I think, depending when it's going out. But
how did it go?
Yeah,
Tell us.
You have to find out. So doing all of those things, and for me, I like sort of what you're saying about here in terms of being this 2:48 marathon runner is actually crazy, because I was not sporty at all as a child. Most people that I know, from my childhood and everything, will be like, this is crazy, this is mental, and they say when I go to weddings and stuff now, they're like, what's happening, why, you were the least sportiest out of our friendship group, and now you're the most sportiest. It's ridiculous.
It's a nice feeling, probably.
It's great. because it wasn't that for so long.
Do you know, sorry to interrupt you, I had a PE teacher come up to me once. I bumped into her in the shops in town, with all of this running stuff, and she just went, it's so funny you're a runner now, because you hated PE in school.
Right? When I was at school, I said to my PE teacher at the time, Mr. Jones, shout out to you. Great guy. Got on really well with him. Don't, but because I said to him, I'm thinking about doing PE for my GCSEs. And he literally looked at me and my mum. This was on the options evening. I remember it so clearly. He just looked at me and he went, started to shake his head. And have you ever thought about doing RE? And I just was like, and you could, and in fairness, my mum was like, yeah, that's a good suggestion. In fairness, I don't know why he wants to do PE.
She instantly backed
I don't know why I wanted to do PE. I was not sporty at all. It was when you're having to choose out of 2 options, and it was and in fairness, I got an A star in RE, so he was absolutely, he was the only one I got the A star in. It was, he was bang on the money. He knew exactly what he was talking about. So yeah, shout out to you. But but I did do my first marathon when I was still at school.
Okay.
So when I was doing my A levels, I did it when I was 18. And so I remember being sort of looking at him, being like, well, you kind of missed out. But as I say, it was a joke, because my background's in acting and performing. My brother used to do football on the Sundays. He'd go play football, and I'd be there cheering on from the sidelines and never really doing it. I think I did it once when I was 6 or 7, and I remember that guy turning to me and saying to me, "Your team are just not very good, are they?" And I went, no, they're not. And that was the last time I played football in a team, because I was just this is just not enjoyable. I'm not very good at it. And at the time, I remember thinking, this is just not something I'm into. And I used to do running once a year on a cross country at school, and you do a one, when you go through the different sports, basically
1,500 meters or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. And they just stick you out there. And I remember thinking I'm okay at it, but also my friends would be like, you run a bit weird, I don't know what it is I did differently then, but they were like, you just kind of swing your arms a bit weird, and so
you look funny when you run,
literally. And and it was in a supportive manner, they weren't sort of being oh, what a loser, but it was kind of in a way that they were like, you run just a bit odd, and so I don't know what's changed. Maybe I still do run that way, and they've just stopped mentioning it. But yeah, so it was that sort of thing that I basically sort of touching on what we said here and what we're going to touch on today in terms of willpower. I would watch the London Marathon and would see it and would think, that's amazing. That looks like the hardest thing to do, because I can't run for like a couple of minutes before needing a break. You know, and I was relatively like fit, like I had a paper round, like, and stuff like that, like, so I'd go cycling, but I was not a runner. I was not a sporty person. And I remember saying, I'm gonna do the London Marathon one day. And it was the case, obviously, like, you need to be like 18. And so I said, well, the first time I can enter, I'm gonna enter. And you used to enter in April, and you wouldn't find out till October. And so when I was 17, I entered, and my dad entered as well, because I remember I somehow managed to coax him into it. And was like, if I do it, will you? And he was like, yeah, we'll both sign up. And I remember then, fast forward to like the October, and I always also remember in my head the day before, I was being just a bit of an idiot in my sixth form in the common area there. And somebody was like playing some music, and I tell you what it actually was, is that there was somebody else dancing on a table, and some people were kind of being a bit unkind to him and like taking the mick out of him, basically.
Okay.
And I saw that, and I actually thought, I'm gonna join you. I'm gonna get on another table, and I'm gonna do the same thing, because I had a good friendship group around me, and like and I was like, I don't really like seeing people not be kind in that way. So I was like, I'm gonna get up on the other table, and I'm just gonna dance, and I'm gonna make this normal, basically.
Good for you.
And anyway, I got up on the table. My friends are like recording it, like, it's great, it's fun. The table completely gave way. I literally, the video's out there on like Facebook or something, and like occasionally I get tagged in it. And literally, you just see me dancing around on this table, having the best time, and this table just flies out from beneath me, and
golly.
I hit the deck completely. And then the next day is when I found out I got into London Marathon. And I was on my way home from school. I was with my best mate at the time, and we were walking back home, and my dad rang me, and he said, I've just got a magazine through, and they used to send you a magazine if you didn't get in, or if you did, and the magazine told him he didn't get in. And you could hear the glee in his voice. He was like, oh, it's such a shame, but I've not got in. Like, you might have a magazine when you get home. And sure enough, I opened the door, and there on the mat was this magazine, and you could see straight through that it was saying, you're in.
That's so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, and it was great. And it was, as I say, for somebody who was not sporty, it was this belief. And I remember my best mate saying to me, because I remember saying to lots of people that I'm going to do this, and people were like, what? Like, are you sure? Like, and people were like, you're not going to do it. Like, that's not going to happen. But I remember him saying to me, and my family saying to me, you are going to do it. And I specifically remember them saying, because of your willpower, because you have that determination, because you won't stop. And that's what got it through. And I always remember that time setting up that fundraising page, and I know we'll get into a bit more about that and everything later on. But I remember sort of saying, like, I'm going to do this. I've got this reason that I want to do it for now as well, which was just a choice that I wanted to do it for. And basically saying, I will crawl across that line. They'll clear it up, they'll pack away, and I will crawl across it. And so now we're looking at a situation where I've just got into Boston and these crazy things, but it wasn't always like that. And obviously with the podcast I do, the big reason it's called Running for the Bus, the main reason is because people always say to me, I could never do that. I could never run a marathon. I could never do this challenge or whatever it is. Like, and I mean, you've probably heard it. Everyone's heard it when they say, I can't even run for a bus. And so like the whole point of that is that you see these incredible athletes on this podcast, and they've achieved these amazing things. And then we also have the Deliriously Mad challenges that we also now support with Runner, and they take on their first ever challenge. And the point is that anyone can. I really believe it, because I did, and you wouldn't have believed it before.
Yeah,
so.
It's so inspiring when you come from a place, and I relate to that personally. Like, when you come from a place of, for whatever it is, feeling like an underdog, or like just like you aren't that person, or you're not that sports person, or even a PE teacher telling you that's not for you. The drive to want to overcome that, and then not necessarily prove them wrong, but prove yourself that you can do it, and just really make it work is, it's such a strong driver for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's about like, how do you you show that you can achieve these things? You do them. Like how do you sort of lead that way and show it to others? You do it yourself. And I want to achieve so many more things I haven't yet achieved in my life still. And it's like I can look back at these things and know that I've done them, so I can do these things. Like, so that hopefully that will keep pushing.
It's really
me on.
cool. It's always looking back on it seems a lot like, yeah, I can do that, but then it's the looking forward is the hard part, isn't it? That's the daunting part. It's looking back and like, yeah, I did that, cool. Anyway.
Yeah, and you kind of have to take stock of that as well and appreciate that. I think sometimes you look back and you're like, oh yeah, no, it's great, I just did the 2:48 marathon last year.
Yeah.
This year I'm going to do this. And it's like...
It's a spiral.
Yeah, there's still a lot of work to do, actually.
So, before we get into willpower and all of the above and how it relates to you and your advice and things, Charlie and I like to open with a couple of questions that bring everything to the mood booster and boosting moods.
Nice.
So, firstly for you, interested to know, for our listeners as well, what boosts your mood when things get tough?
I would say... There's a multitude of things. Like, it's not just one thing I would go to. So like it would be the people around me, the support that I have, knowing that I've got people that I love and people that love me, that will support me, and I can go to when things are tough and things I'm struggling. And then it's looking back at what you've already achieved, appreciating that, not in a way that you're sort of dwelling in it, but it's about sort of thinking, okay, well, I've done that. This is what I can do. And also looking at the things that you struggled with when there's been a difficulty in your life, when things have got hard, which they have for all of us.
For sure.
It's then sort of using that to spur you on.
Yeah.
And as well as that, I'm also just somebody as well who will look at other things going on, other things that are happening in the world and maybe happening to my family or to my friends, and thinking, well, if they're going through that, then me choosing to go out and do this, or me deciding that I want to put this challenge in my life, like I have a choice. I have the decision to do that. So like, for example, like I went to a talk a few months ago with Chris Hoy, and like you look at like what he's doing and he's still doing and he's achieving. Like he's an incredible person and an inspirational person in the face of such adversity as well. And so like I look at that and go, well, yeah, like why can I not do these things? Like who's stopping me?
Yeah.
It's a lot of what we speak about in terms of presence and gratitude. It's like being grateful that you have the choice first off.
Yeah.
But then also linking that to like, you know, well, if he can, why can't I? So it's like a mix of that sort of gratitude, but also like the willpower, which we will get on, which is cool that that's even in your answer is something as simple as what Marcus has said. So
yeah,
shows that we have the right guy on for willpower as well. Definitely. My question, which I'm also keen to hear, is what is one thing that you're working on for yourself right now? It doesn't have to be anything particular, but is there anything that you're working on for yourself?
Well, I think sometimes it's probably an ongoing thing, and it probably will always be an ongoing thing. But it's maybe to not be so critical of myself at times. I would say, like, because sometimes you can achieve so many things, and then you sort of move on quite quickly, and you start thinking about that next thing, and you don't take into sort of context these other things that have happened in the past few months or years or you know, or whenever. So just trying to appreciate the moment. And I think I'm pretty good at that in lots of ways. Like, I think I'm very good at appreciating people around me, appreciating the moments that we've shared. And I think I've got better at that as time has gone on as well. And I think there's been things in my life that have made me more present with that and more aware of those times. But it's still an ongoing thing. I still need to, like, there's definitely times where I can be a bit hard on myself and actually, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's motivational, but it needs to be motivational. It can't just be, you're not doing well enough.
Cracking the whip, yeah. The fact that you're aware of it in itself is a massive step. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. I can also see that being a product of someone who is achieving so much. Like, it's a blessing and a curse in a way, because you're achieving so much for a reason, because, you know, you have the motivation and the willpower and all of those things. But with that potentially comes that sort of, the rushing through it, or I've not taken time in this last couple of months just to sit with the gravity of whatever this particular achievement was, for example.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, Charlie, that comes back to that presence of the moment and being like, I don't want to be going so fast to all of these goals that then I'll look back in 20 years' time and be like, oh, well, I had all of that stuff in the moment, and it was all gone now and it's fleeting or whatever. Hopefully it won't be gone in that way, and there'll be new things, but still.
It's about like the sustainability of it all.
Yes.
And it's also about the life around it as well. I think when you start achieving the things and you start, like in particular, like big milestones that you've worked really hard towards, that takes a lot of your focus, it takes a lot of your energy. So it's about making sure that you also have time for family, have time for friends, have time for developing relationships and things like that, which it's really difficult at times to make sure that you have enough time for all of those things. And as I say, I think I'm good at it in lots of ways, but there's still definitely room for growth there.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. Love the answer. Yeah. Great. Fantastic.
So in terms of your challenges and your motivation and all of those things, you very eloquently and brilliantly touched on sort of how you got into your first marathon. And I know you didn't necessarily the listener doesn't know, but you didn't necessarily come back to marathons for 8 years after your first one?
8 years.
So but you immediately started fundraising when you were 18, right?
Yes, yeah.
Just before we go into it for the listener, it's nearing £10,000 you've raised?
Yeah, it's just under. So we're any day.
Yeah.
How many pounds are you off?
I think it's like £200, I think. So it's
very exciting.
Yeah, I'm if not by Boston, then hopefully by Boston.
Definitely.
Be nice to do it because that's the sick one. So.
Of course.
You have your Ben Kelleher's Deliriously Mad challenges, which, well, I'll let you explain. And that all then feeds into the fundraising efforts, right? Yeah.
So the fundraising, to say, I got into London when I was 17, and set up that page, I think, that night, which is still going now, but obviously have variations and they close pages and what have you. But yeah, we've still got one that's now permanently open, and that was like the first time. And as I say, with London, I got in on the ballot, so I was incredibly lucky. Like it was really hard then.
Yeah.
I think actually it's also got Glastonbury tickets the same weekend.
Really?
So
wow, very cool.
Honestly, it was one of those weekends with a lot of luck. If you look at it like that. And so just got on very luckily, but made the choice that I wanted to fundraise. Obviously, like the London Marathon is the biggest single day fundraiser in the world, still is. And obviously lots of people run it for charity as well. But yeah, made the choice that I wanted to run it for cancer research, which was a straight away choice that I knew I wanted to do. And again, it influenced a lot of my training in that period. When things were tough, I would think about that. And the reason I wanted to do it for cancer research is because it's impacted my family a lot over the years, as I think it's impacted most people's families. And so I knew that it was something that would resonate with me and also with everyone else. And so like my granddad had just recovered from cancer at that time. It was literally a few months before, where he just sort of come out the other side of it. It was still, early days. My dad's mum had died from cancer. I never got to meet her. She died when I was just very young. Thank you. And since then, like it's impacted my family in lots of ways. Like my other granddad has passed away with cancer. His wife also passed away with cancer. My aunt recently, last year.
Sorry.
No, thank you. And it's such an important cause because it's obviously something that affects so many of us.
Yes. And
it could well affect me. It could well affect anyone else here. I think personally, like I find it very difficult when it's a family member and somebody that you care about, obviously seeing that.
For sure.
So that was the big reason why I started that page, in terms of the fundraising page. And over that period, I was living in Dorset at the time, and so the community got so invested in it. I actually only recently, in the last sort of year, found, because I think when you're training and you're doing all these things, you don't maybe take it in as much. But I was at my mum's and I was going through some like certificates of other stuff, and I got awarded like the Dorset young hero of the year.
Oh wow,
Yeah, which
that's
is,
really cool.
it's crazy. Like, and I was like, how did I not realize that? This like,
cool.
and it
Young
was,
hero of Dorset,
I
that's
basically it was from like the Dorset Scene Fair, and they gave me like some free tickets and that. And I think I just saw the free tickets and was like, wow, this is great, and just didn't worry about the actual award.
So lovely.
But yeah, so I found out like that, and that happened over that period, which is amazing. Yeah, when you look back on it, and the community got so invested. Like the local pubs, I went and took them like pots that I'd made with like that I printed off like my image on, and like a text code, and then like the local shops, and like got like different clubs to sponsor. And I think we raised, like, at the time it was just under £2,500, which is crazy, and like, it's an amazing amount for like an 18-year-old to raise, just because we wanted to as well, and do that. And then as time's gone on, I when I came back to, so as you mentioned before, I left it like 8 years before I decided to run another marathon. In my head, I always basically said I want to do New York. That was the thing. I was like, London is number one for the first one, and then I wanted to do New York in particular, and I also wanted to do Sydney, which Sydney also wasn't a major for very long, so it's only just come into it. So I'm going to do that next year, which is going to be really nice to bring it in. And so anyways, when I came back to doing marathon running, at 26, I basically said, well, I've done a marathon, so, and it was great, but like, how am I going to get like people to support this, and is it really enough of a challenge to do another marathon? Which, in answer, yes, it is. Like,
Of course,
another marathon, it is enough. But I basically said, well, I want to do two. I want to double it, and so I then spoke to my friend Megan, and she sort of works in different like sort of marketing and that kind of thing, and she basically was like, yeah, well, you need to set up a page, like you should have your own separate page for your running. And I was like, I don't know if that's needed. I was like, I just do it on my own page, and like just do it like that, and I just tell people about it. And she's like, no. Like Meg is a ball of energy. I love her very dearly, and
Big up Meg.
Yeah, big up Meg.
Let's go, Meg.
We were talking before about how we started the podcast, and Meg was the first producer on it, and she still supports it as well. And yeah, she and her and Emma have been out and supported lots of the marathons since, and they're amazing. Hopefully we'll touch on a bit more of that later on, but yeah, like she was like, you need this page, like a proper page. She was like, you need to think of a name. So we met up in the Nero in Clapham. Like,
Cafe Nero.
Literally, just
Cafe
best hot
Nero.
chocolate, luxury hot chocolate. It is the best
It is
one.
good.
That's honestly, if anyone says to me to meet up for a coffee, I'm like, let's go.
Cafe Nero.
Literally always. I was there today.
Oh, yeah.
Different one.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, and we met there, and we were like coming up with names, and thinking about it, and I was sort of saying, well, just Ben Kelleher's double marathon challenge, like that works well. And so that was it. So it was a BK DMC, and that's how it started. And then I did those. I did Berlin, which, because I decided that I was going to do the two, and decided Sydney. Well, it wasn't a major at the time, but it was also just because it was so far away, and just, what have you. To be honest, I didn't really know about the majors at that time anyway. It was only after Berlin where somebody mentioned it to me on a plane, and that person also inspired the podcast, the Running for the Bus podcast. And we started it there, and basically said we're going to do Berlin because it's pretty easy to get to, it's close by, and then I'm going to do New York. And so they came to that one. Emma and Meg came to Berlin, and then my dad came to New York, and there were 6 weeks between the two. And then from there, I mean, I basically did that, and I was like, well, I want to do more now. And the person who inspired the podcast on that plane journey, basically, if you ever do Berlin Marathon, you get like a wristband, and so that you know who's running it. Yeah. And on the plane back, I was on a different flight to the girls, and this lady sat next to me. She had like this wristband on, and I said to her, oh, did you run the marathon? And she was like, yeah, and got chatting and talking. And she basically mentioned, well, you've done 2 of the majors. You're doing New York. You've done half of them nearly. You're going to do all 6. And I was like, what are the majors?
What's that? Yeah.
Like, what are that? And little did I know how much it's going to change my life, really. We spent the whole journey talking from there, like before the plane took off to the time it landed. And like people were getting off the plane and we were still kind of talking at that point. And we were like, we actually need to get off this plane. But the whole time we were talking, she basically was like, oh yeah, I've done like Berlin and I'm doing another one in a couple of weeks. And it just, over the course of the conversation, you just found out this incredible story and this journey that she's been on. And it was just incredibly inspiring. And eventually, like I sort of said, well, how many marathons have you done? And she was like I don't know, like 183.
What?
I don't know, like
183.
What?
And she was like, yeah, and like, and just so casual about it. And I was like, this is incredible. You're the most inspiring person. Like, and I came away from that and I'd been thinking about, like, I love conversation. I love people. I love finding out their journey, what inspires them, what gives them the strength, what's their drive, their willpower in that journey. And so I'd been sort of thinking about it and I love the conversation, and obviously my background's in performing. So like presenting is kind of something that I wanted to do more. And that was kind of a good opportunity to get into it. And as I say, this conversation, I was like, well, this is what I should do. Like I should speak to people like you and find out about their journeys and their experiences, because it's so inspiring to me and hopefully it's inspiring to the people that listen. And that's been the drive since. And so we started the podcast from there. We started it, I think 2 months after, I think in December of that year, if I'm correct. And yeah, it's just sort of gone from there and inspired me so much. And I've never been able to get her to do the podcast because she's so retiring, so shy, but she, like, people are like, who's your number one person you want to get on? There's so many people obviously, but I would love to get her to come on.
She
has like no social media presence, no nothing at all, like,
doesn't matter,
which is great. Like, it's like, for me, it's not about that. It's never been about that. It's always about the conversation. It's about the people that inspire me. Like the other week we had two people that I recorded with one day after the other, and one of them has got like 2 million followers across socials. Incredible person, super inspiring and amazing journey. That's why I wanted her to come on the podcast, not because of the followers. And then the next day I recorded an episode with somebody he's like a 70-year-old 6-star finisher, like one of the first to do it. And just like his journey from there has been super inspiring. I met him in a run sort of group out in Tokyo, and no social media at all. And it was like, but these are the stories that I want to find out about. Like, and hopefully people listen, which they have, which has been great. But and hopefully it inspires them, and it definitely inspires me.
That's so cool.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, that's a long route to that journey, but it's gone from there. And obviously after Berlin, did New York, basically was like, I need to do more. Like I want to do more. I want to do these majors now, and I want to do all these things. And basically like, we need to change the name because it's not Double Marathon Challenge. And so like we're like delirious, like it's deliriously mad, like, and like, it's so many crazy challenges out there now. So like you look at it and you're like, it's not that delirious, like what you do compared to other people. But
I have to do a 100+ kilometer ultra instead.
But it's more just about like the fact it's delirious to you, like it's delirious, like the things that go on now are delirious to me. Like it's delirious that I run a 2:48 marathon. It's delirious the fact I've got into Boston on like with the time and like 100k, and these things are delirious. But also it's hopefully to inspire others to see that, because whilst it might not feel that delirious to me now, like because I've done a few marathons and I'm doing a whole host more in the next year and stuff, like we were talking about before, like reflecting back and actually appreciating what you've done, because to me, like, I go, oh yeah, and I've done that, and that's normal.
Keeps you grounded.
But I know like for other people, like who've not done a marathon before, or like or a 5k or whatever, it is delirious. It's still delirious. It's crazy, 100%. and it still is. And so, and like we obviously have the Deliriously Mad challenges that we do on the podcast now, and where we put them into their first ever race and we train them up, and that inspires me as well. And hopefully the idea is that whilst you see all these crazy challenges going on, which are inspirational and amazing, it's also completely delirious to me that I'm now doing these things, and hopefully for somebody who thinks that a 5K is crazy to them and delirious to them, that they go, actually, no, it is, but it's also doable.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the journey.
Nice.
Incredible.
All of that to say, that's just so cool. And also the perspective of someone else, never losing perspective of a 5K is a huge thing to do, and will always be a huge thing to do, even for someone who's run 180 plus marathons. For someone else, a 5K is huge, and that's completely valid.
Absolutely.
And all of the above require work on willpower, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely, yeah.
we're here to talk to you about willpower. What does willpower look like to you? Big question.
Big question. I think with willpower, it's about your inner belief. Like, what do you want to achieve, and how are you going to get there? And that looks different for different people in terms of the journey to get there. And like, so some people might need extra support around them. I would say that's definitely important, like having people around you to support you in it, in what you want to achieve. And it's about how you're going to achieve those goals that you want with this belief. Because right now, whatever it is you want to do, like we're saying, if it's a 5K, if it's just getting out the door and running, like when I started running, I found it on the Friday. I went out running on the Monday with my friend, and from there, just 6 days a week, with no clue, no plan, the wrong shoes. I had some AstroTurfs from school.
Nice.
Like, yeah, honestly, I had, like, my friends clubbed together and got me some for my birthday a few weeks later, and it was like proper running shoes. And I was like, oh wow, this is like a different game. But the first month, it was a learning curve, and it was like 2 minutes of running, and like running to the end of the road, stopping, walking for a bit, and running to the top where my school was, walking, stop for a bit. And we did like 20 minutes of that, which of running wise, it was probably like 2 minutes intervals for maybe 3 or 4 like intervals, something like that.
Yeah.
Just because I wasn't used to it at all. So it's having that belief that, okay, you're starting off in a position where I can't run for 2 minutes without needing to stop, but I'm about to run a marathon in 6 months.
Yep.
And that 6 months is a journey where you're going to grow. And I mean, I didn't know what that would look like in 6 months. I didn't know if I would be able to run non-stop. That was the goal. The goal is to try and build that up, and that's what I did with a plan in place and things. But it's having that belief that you can do anything you want to do if you're ready to put the work in and have the belief in it.
A belief that it's achievable, right, as well.
Yeah, and a belief in yourself that it's not achievable right now. Like, it's like I couldn't have just gone and run a marathon. Like, that wasn't there, but it was belief that it's achievable if I'm willing and ready and have the options as well. Because I'm also totally aware that it's okay for me to say that, but like there's people that like have different things going on in their lives. Of, might have a family to raise and might have like work that's
For sure.
creating difficulty with that. But it is about trying to find those pockets of time where you can, and I truly believe that if you plan it in place and you put those things into place, it's doable for anyone and what you want to do.
Sorry, carry on.
You mentioned earlier just there that sometimes it's the people that you have around you which really help you.
Yeah.
Have there been points where you felt like you've lacked willpower in things you're doing? You're like, I just can't do it. Like, was it the lack of belief? Have there been times for you like that?
Yeah, 100%. Like, there's definitely times in, excuse me, there's definitely times where I've like struggled with that. I mean, my background in acting and performing is full of rejection, like as starting out, and then and I mean, it can still be tricky at times. It's that's something I've got used to over time. Probably put me in a quite a good place to start running and to fall back and then to get knockbacks and then to learn from them. But yeah, there's definitely times where you struggle. I always think about when I was starting out in my running journey when I was 18 or 17 when I started out, and I used to always do my long run on like a Sunday. So I'd have the Saturday as the day break, and then the Sunday would be the long run. And I used to have a job at the pub like down the road, and would work there till like 3:30, and then I'd come home and my mum had like made roast dinner, And I'd be like, nah, you just hold off on that for now, because I need to go and do this 3 hour or 3.5 hour run or whatever it is.
Oh my God.
And it's like January or February or whatever it is in Dorset, down the trailway, just pitch black, like at times, rainy, cold, horrible. And I remember thinking, oh, why are you doing this? Like, what is, like, what, like, can you really do this?
Go home.
And yeah, like, and to be fair, my mum would always be like, do you need to?
Yeah.
Just,
Really?
you know, do you need to do it? And but that's where you dig in, and that's where you would. I distinctly remember being on that trailway and thinking to myself of the finish line in the April, and thinking that's going to be amazing. That's something I've wanted to do my whole life, like pretty much. Like, you know, I've that's a goal that I really want to achieve, and I knowing that I'm going to have my family and my friends there, which I did know as well, and I'm going to see them on the course. Like the marathon seemed to be the biggest challenge at the beginning, but then you realize during the training that this is the challenge. This is the times that build you, when it is cold, when you want to be home and have that roast dinner, when you've been out all day and you've been working or whatever, and you've got school tomorrow and like or whatever, and or now like work or whatever, what have you. It is that those times where I would think really about. I get to do this. I have the choice, and I want to, and I'm going to think about that finish line. I'm going to have that support at the end, and I'm fundraising for charity, which was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Because that was driving me on. I was like, there's no way I can't do this. Like, as I said, I will crawl across that line, because if I don't do this, I've got to return that money back. Like, in my head, I can't take the money for this if I don't do it. And so the whole point is like I was like, I need to do this to raise these funds for something that's so important to me. And like I would think about the fact that my granddad had just recovered, and the support that he'd had, and I just remember thinking, I don't want to have this again. Like, I don't want to have, and as I say, it's obviously has happened again since, and it can happen, and it does. But I was like, I want to be able to be putting, and still now when I do things, I want to be fundraising to one day stop cancer. Hopefully, I really believe that one day we can stop that. And I know we're not there, but like that was a big drive, knowing that I can do it for that reason, and also just knowing that you're fundraising for that thing that is so important to you. You've got the support there, and you want to achieve that goal. And as I say, like when it was hard and it was tough in those times, you would focus in on that, and you would think, these are the reasons I'm doing this. This is the push.
Yeah. I think what is interesting to hear you say about as well, regardless of whether it's the marathons, the ultras, or even the willpower to push through with your podcast and wanting to like make running and all of that more accessible, right?
Yeah.
You touched on something really interesting there, was the belief, the inner belief, and that's where the willpower comes from.
Yeah.
Interestingly, sorry to be Dr. Marcus about it, but from a psychological perspective, willpower is hugely malleable, and I mean, from a research perspective, it's called like willpower is a muscle that can be trained.
Yeah.
And hugely a huge variable, a huge factor in that training is hope.
Yeah.
And hope and belief, having a growth mindset that there is something that I'm working towards, and I believe that it's achievable, and I can do it. Because if you don't believe that it's achievable and you can do it, then willpower, you may as well forget it.
Yeah.
That's willpower in itself, feeling like that willpower is fixed, but also believing that the goal that you're working towards and need willpower to work towards is also something that you can achieve. And therefore, it is like a muscle, you train it. And as Charlie asked, and as you said about, it's not always going to be perfect. And that doesn't mean that you're not... whether you're listening on now or yourself or us, it doesn't mean if for one day you fail that run, or you don't go for that run, or you don't do your podcast marketing how you want to do, or whatever it is, it doesn't mean that you're someone with bad willpower or a lack thereof. It just means that, like anything else, this is something that we're constantly working towards, and we're training this thing, and therefore we can be better at it, and we can grow at it, because it comes from this hope and this belief that what I'm working towards, this goal, is achievable, and I can do it.
Yeah.
There's a fantastic quote just to sort of like lead from that, is a tree falls the way it leans. So like it's the consistency that you're saying, it's whether it's through repetition or it's the constant internal belief. Even when you don't want to do it, if you're doing something consistently, you'll end up doing it. And so it's whether it's from focusing on the smaller picture and then the bigger thing looks after itself. It's all sort of intertwined. That it's the consistency on having this inner belief and this hope.
Yeah.
That's what will get you through, and then the willpower is just there.
Yeah.
I'd like to think, at least from what I'm picking up.
Absolutely. I think that's actually a really good point in terms of consistency.
Yeah.
Like the consistency is what gets you there, because you know you have this belief, you have these drives. As I say, things get tough, you're thinking about maybe the other drives of like the fundraising or whatever else that you're doing, but it is that times where things are really hard, but you just keep going, you keep pushing through. And like now, like it's actually quite interesting, this sort of willpower now, because as you mentioned, like we're still fundraising, we still do that, but a lot of the times we do that now through like the show that I produce with Tread the Boards, which is coming up to its 5th anniversary this next year. And like we use that more as a fundraiser, because obviously there's only so much you can say to people keep sponsoring marathons.
Please
and
keep
things.
paying.
Yeah, exactly. So like they're you know, but it's still really important to me like to do that. But then in terms of willpower, in terms of your training, you know, I think people look at it now and they go, oh yeah, well you do marathons all the time, like this is normal. And it's like you still have to train like so hard. Like right now I'm training 6 days a week. Yesterday was my first like double day of the training plan and everything. So like and like there's strength training, which I get so but bored, but also actually it's like so hard. And like the training gets harder, and you still have to get out there in the dark and in the rain. And there is definitely times there where you think, oh, what yesterday I thought, oh, do I really want to go out today and do this? But knowing that the end goal and the thing that you want to achieve is so rewarding, and you proving to yourself that you can do these things that you have a belief that you can do. You know you need to put the work in. You know you need to actually turn up and consistently show up. And that doesn't mean not listening to your body and taking time when you need to. And that's something that I need to get better at. And that's why like, I'm working with a coach now in particular, is because sometimes I might over push it a bit. And so like you do need to listen to yourself, but also, it's about that consistency, showing up and doing it when you don't feel like it. But, you know, physically you can, and you learn from that. And those times are when you look back in a race, and like in Amsterdam last year, I remember thinking to myself, like, think about those times when you were running around Battersea Park and it was pitch black and you were like struggling so much. Like those times have built you, and they felt harder than this does right now. So I can still do this. Like, and it was so like times like that when you have to do it. And I still need to remind myself of that, because currently training hard and running around Battersea Park and places like that, and thinking, oh my goodness, why am I doing this? But it's because I have these goals and these things I want to prove that I can, because I do believe I can.
Yeah. Very, very, very cool. And also something that is interesting to unpack is the difference between motivation and willpower, but then also the discipline. Now, I have a inkling / no, from a psychological perspective, the difference or how they interplay with each other. But I'm interested, I don't know, there's a lot of noise online about motivation versus discipline and all those things. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued to know your because you're
I'm putting you on the spot there. I completely appreciate.
No, like it's a very valid point, because I mean I touched on it before in terms of like saying to people, wow, just do it, like just turn up and get out there and do it, and I don't think anyone needs to hear that. To be honest, I don't need somebody telling me, oh wow, you're not good enough, and if you don't do it, you're just a waste of time, basically. Basically, that's how they're making you feel. With certain things that are being put out there. I don't need that. I don't want that. And that can stay away from me. Because yes, you need this sort of push, and I do think that, you know, it's good to have that motivation, but it needs to be supportive. It needs to be in a way that is supporting you and developing you, and
sustainable.
It's sustainable, yeah. And as I say, for some people, it might not be sustainable to do 6 sessions a week and be doing that. Of course, that's not sustainable for everyone. Like, it's not always sustainable for me to do that. Like, I can't do that all the time. Like, it's, certain parts of the year and what have you. But when I sort of say, like, I think anyone can do these things and achieve them, that they can achieve it in their own way, in their own goal. Like, for example, like the other day, I ran the Great North Run with my dad and my stepmom. Like, never run a half marathon before. And they're like, oh, you should go off and do that. That's not the point. Today is about doing it with you and enjoying it. And so what this looks like for you is what I want this to be today. And so, like, when I say, like, anyone can do it, I mean, whatever your goal is, whatever you believe that you could do if you put your mind to it, go and do it and go and achieve it. And if that means training twice a week, if that means getting in 20 minutes in the morning, like a couple of times a week initially to build up for a 5K or what have you, yes, the bigger a challenge gets, you might need to put in more work on the way, but, like, you can make it work, and your different goal can be achieved in your own way. And I think in terms of, like, discipline, you've got to have discipline to keep turning up and to make sure you actually do those sessions when you've said you have. And I think for me that helps to have like a plan and a structure, because if I don't, it would fall apart. Like I say, I didn't do another marathon for 8 years. Like, I went to uni and just was like, well, I've done one now. And I said that in my head, I was like, I'd like to do New York and Sydney at some point. But that was flying on by. And it was only when I said, right, I'm actually going to do these 2, and this is what I'm going to do. And then building that and realizing how impactful that was in my life, and the way that changed my perspective on things was massive. Like, having the discipline, having the plan. When I come out of university, I remember, like, that was probably one of the hardest periods for me in my life, because suddenly you're, like, trying to find work and trying to this, and don't get me wrong, there was loads of great memories and moments in that time as well. But I remember in my own mental sort of state, like the struggle and the, like, sort of feeling of being a little bit lost was probably one of the hardest times, because it was not having this. And maybe that was when I started to really think about getting back into running again, because I knew the enjoyment I'd found from it before, and say getting into it, and now where we are with it, like, I think it's such a crucial part of my life, and it brings so much in so many different ways. We're gonna, like, touch on some more later, but yeah, like, just having that structure, having that belief, it comes from there. And sort of touching on more on what you were just saying in terms of the discipline versus motivation, I think we'll find that in different ways, but for me, it's about the structure, it's about the plan, it's about those things in place. It doesn't help to have people maybe making you feel not worthy and making you feel that they're, like, almost godlike, and achieving these incredible things which are amazing, but also for some people might feel not achievable because they don't have that time. And it's like, don't compare yourself to that. Try and set your own goals that you can achieve and enjoy that. Because that's what really is the main point.
Definitely. Well, that's one of those factors that influences motivation, is those external things, but motivation also comes internally. So motivation being the spark, it's the eagerness, it's the enthusiasm, it's the I want to do this. Motivation is a lot more emotionally fluctuating and driven by our internal emotions, right? Then the willpower comes next. It's the deferred gratification. It's the I'm going to defer this gratification and do this hard thing first to be able to make sure that this happens. It's the muscle that I'm practicing to make sure that what I'm motivated for can happen. Then the discipline is the system that keeps all of that in place. Like you say, the consistency, having the structure to make sure that when that motivation wavers, because it will do, because it's emotionally driven, and therefore I'm not always going to want to do it, I have that system that I can fall back on and keep me in check and keep me in place, and those structures, like you say, and the systems to be able to continually show up with that willpower over and over again. Because
it's a muscle which you can grow, or you can work on. It's there for you. Work, right?
Exactly. But it's knowing that, because online and things, it's like you've just got to be motivated or follow me. But you can be inspired by someone, and that's great. But unless you have your internal willpower, which you need to work on, and your systems and the things in place for your discipline, all the motivation in the world's not going to lead to a sustainable, achievable, long-term outcome.
Yeah. It's about building
you've got to go through those
incrementally
hard
as
things as well, right?
Yeah, and it's like it's about over time. Like as you say, like there's amazing things that people are doing and achieving out there, and it's incredible to see, and like some amazing challenges and different things that you see, and it's great. But and I fully support it. But like there's also the avenue of the fact that for some people looking at that, it makes it feel so unattainable. It makes it feel like I could never achieve that. And I think you sometimes have to take a little bit of perspective on that and see, you know, if they're like an athlete that's being sponsored and that's their whole thing.
Exactly.
Like, don't get me wrong, they still have to have that drive. They still have to turn up to those sessions. So it doesn't diminish what they're achieving. Like, it's still incredible. But it also doesn't mean that you need to compare yourself to that, because you might not have that time. You might not have that ability also yet, like you've developed, because it takes time to build it. And like I hope that the stuff I put out in terms of like things I show on social media and with the podcast and everything, I hope it inspires people more. I hope it feels relatable and achievable along the way. And I think for me it's about like looking at like how that journey has followed and taken place, because I think if I looked at what I do now, and like if I looked at like the times that I get maybe, or like or the distances, and say loads of people are doing like way more as well, like it's not like that amazing, but like it's still great. But it is but like
that's the echo chamber that you're in.
But like it's, you know, there's loads of people
Yeah.
who do like way more and stuff, but the point is, like if I looked at that now, like when I was just getting back into running, in, you know, in that first marathon in Berlin, which is, you know, it's like an hour and I think it's about an hour and 10 minutes off where I am now, and that was 3 years ago. Technically 2 years actually, I think, between the two, between that and when I got that time in Amsterdam. So 2 years from there, and then obviously the 100k and the other ultras and the try that I've done, it like all these crazy things that if I looked at 2 years ago, I would honestly probably not have put on the shoes. I like, you know, it would put you off. You would think, there's no way. It's not achievable. It's not. I'm not going to get there. Like, it doesn't feel like I can. Whereas when I first put on those shoes when I did London, and when I first got back into it in Chicago, I wasn't worried about time. I wasn't worried about, and to a certain extent, I still am not worried about that. Like there's times where I am, like at the minute I'm training for Valencia, and I'm that's the goal. It's the only second time where I've ever had a time goal, which in the first one being, well, it was actually Tokyo, and then Amsterdam was like the step to it. I ended up getting it in Amsterdam, which is just how it worked out. And like, but it's pretty rare for me to do that. And like next year I'm going to do Boston, which would be amazing. I'm going to do Sydney. I'm not going for time now. I'm going for the experience. I'm going for the enjoyment. And when I first got into London and then obviously Berlin and so on, I just wanted to finish it. I just wanted to achieve it. I wanted to also have the experience. Like, you get to run, like, all of my marathons have been in, apart from London, they've all been in other places in the world. I've got to see some amazing places. So it's like the drive there was just to actually experience it, and to get out and to be able to run in Berlin, and to be able to run in New York, like these places I've dreamt of being in, let alone running, and getting to see the city in such a unique way. Like, you know, New York, you get to run over the Verrazano Bridge. You don't get to do that, you know, in your daily life. Like, even if you live in New York, it's, you know, the bridges are closed and what have you, like to people walking. It's just amazing. So like the point is like the drive there was not to achieve maybe what I've gone on to achieve and the targets now that I've set myself, because those targets have grown over time. But the actual goal was to find the enjoyment in it, and the goals have changed over time, but also it's what you achieve in yourself, and the growth in yourself, which I think for people, if they're comparing themselves, like looking at other things, don't do that. Like, just think about what you want to achieve, and start off with that first of all.
That's so funny, because doing it for being present is so much of what we speak about. Being present in the process and falling in love with the process is actually where stuff starts to get done.
Yeah.
And stuff starts to happen. So the fact that you were like, sure, I might go for a time and I might get a time in the future, but it's the enjoyment of the race I'm going for.
Yeah.
It allows you to get it done, but in a much sort of nicer way of doing it, and not this sort of toxic way.
I feel like everyone as well, like when it comes to like races and stuff, they'll always be like, "Oh, what time are you going for now? Like, what's the
whole
period?"
thing.
You know, from day one.
Yeah,
and I always
so
remember
noisy,
like my first marathon, I was like, it'd be nice to be under like 6 hours maybe, like. But the point is just finish it. Yeah, it's just finish it. And it was the same in Berlin and Chicago and that, like, people and so on. They, you know, it was that was the goal, just to actually achieve it. And that's such a massive thing to do.
100%.
To run a marathon is amazing. It's such an achievement. To run a 5K is amazing. Like, if you've never run before, and to do all these other things is they're all achievements in their own way. So don't let other things diminish that, as some I would say.
Definitely. So we've touched on several very important things, including enjoying it and doing it for enjoyment. You've mentioned about your family and your friends being, you know, hugely influential in your journey, as well as, you know, the belief you have in yourself. Are there, for our listeners, some maybe more practical tools, like a daily, maybe even daily rituals that you take to help with your willpower or when your motivation is lacking?
Yeah, I would say like making sure that you follow like the structure, the plan, having that plan in place, like an actual plan that you can see, knowing what that looks like. That's a big drive for me. If I don't have the plan, it starts to fall back. You know, I start to maybe not train. If maybe for me, it's always helpful to have like something to work towards if I'm working towards a race and stuff. So having that plan that I can look to, that's been, you know, looked at properly by somebody who's maybe supporting with that, so I trust in that. That's really important. The structure, making sure that your day is also like, you know, what's happening throughout the day, because it's okay saying, well, I'm going to go for a run some point this week, or I'm going to do it, like, you know, like, but it might not happen. It probably won't happen because everything else happens.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time people will say to me, "Oh, like, how do you do this? How do you have enough time to train?" And it's like, because it's crucial to my day. It's crucial to my well-being. It's crucial to everything else that goes on, you know, because as we sort of touched on, like, I'm often doing lots of stuff and there's lots of things going on, and people are like, how can you fit all these things in? And it's like, because they're all important to me, and I make sure that I give time to those things. So the structure of the day itself, making sure that you've planned and sticking to those times
with specificity, right?
Yeah. So like, if I've said I'm going to spend a certain amount of time like editing, or like in terms of like with the podcast, or like looking at that and reviewing footage or whatever it is, like, I stick to those times. And I also make sure like running is a vital part of that day. It doesn't get wiped out. Like, it's
tomorrow.
Yeah. And like, and like, also, if that's time being spent with family and friends and other things, it's the time is there and like put aside, because I think, like, I'm busy, everyone's busy. Like, it's not just me, and it's not just like whoever's listening to this or watching this. Like, everyone is busy. Like nobody goes, like, I'm every day's a breeze, like, it's easy. Like, it is about having that structure in your day, having that structure with the plan, and just having those things in place. And like, I spoke to Dina Castor before on the pod, and she sort of mentioned about the fact of like making your bed every day, like making sure you do that like the first thing, like when you get up, make the bed. Don't leave it till like, because like when you come home, like, you have a messy room, and like, you know, and it's like those sort of things have a psychological impact.
Is it also like, this is something I've just thought of, but is it also sort of creating your environment to help you be more sort of intentional? So if you're going to make your bed, you don't want to go back, you know, you wouldn't get back in it because it's already been made. So it's sort of shaping your environment so that these habits can then take formation, and then the willpower is just more there. I don't know.
No, absolutely. I think for me, having the right environment around me is super important.
Okay.
It's also about building like what your day might look like. Okay. So like, having time at the start of the day, for example, is important to me. So like, somebody might look at that and go, well, how do you have time at the start of the day? It's like, well, you know, making sure that you're getting to bed a bit earlier maybe than you might before, like, so you can get up a little bit earlier. I take a bit of time to read in the morning, maybe like before you like go on social media. And I don't get me wrong, there's times where I don't do it very well, but like when I have those things in place, it makes a big
What time
difference.
are you up in the morning? Can I ask?
Well, yeah. So like I went for a stage of getting up around like 5. But as like that's not achievable for everyone as well. Like, but so like sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's like now it's maybe about 4:30. It's about 5:30.
Buddy's lost it.
I know, completely lost it.
Buddy's lost it. He's sleeping in.
But it's about making sure that you put those things. Like I used to be like somebody who'd be like going to bed quite late, go to bed at like midnight, get up around 7, 8, like, and that is also fine. Like if that's what suits you.
Well, exactly.
But like, yeah. So like if that works for you, and like depending on what your work might look like, or depending on what your life looks like that's whatever suits you. As long as you've got a structure, you've got a plan in place. That's what I would say is important. And like I say, for me, I've started to the last couple of years I've been like getting up earlier, and I feel better for it. Having a bit of time at the start of the day rather than getting up, getting ready for work, getting straight into it. Like I find that I feel better in myself having that time. I personally like to run towards the end of the day. Sometimes I might need to run in the morning as well, depending on if something else is going on or if I'm running twice. But like I actually like to run at the end of the day because that gives me time to reflect on the day and then kind of leave the day behind when I get home and like just relax then.
Yeah.
So like those sort of things. Just already got a laptop.
Yeah, it's okay.
Fine.
Thank you. Something you mentioned there, and I think you were touching upon, Charlie, is also the fact that, as we mentioned, the willpower's not. We're not here saying on this. Quite the contrary, we're not saying on this podcast that willpower is this gold standard that you're going to finesse and it's going to be perfect. The whole point is willpower is something that, like a muscle, needs rest. So in having that structure, that discipline to that structure, and that, I think you were saying, Charlie, like a contingency plan or setting up your environment so you don't necessarily always have to rely on the willpower because the system's doing it for you.
Sometimes when you feel like you're lacking in willpower as well, I find is often when I've lost those structures, when I've dropped those things. So like, for example, like I'm like, if you have a bit of time off and you might go and spend some time away, and I think that's really important as well to make sure you do. And I'm definitely at the end of like a training block, you'll be like, I can't wait to have time off. I can't wait to just chill and not be running. And then like you get into like 3 or 4 days into it or whatever, and you're like. Because you start to feel a little bit lethargic and you start to feel a bit not great in yourself, and those feelings that maybe you've had before when like you may have struggled in different ways, you start to feel like a bit more difficult and worried about things or get more anxious about things. That if you have that structure in place, if you're doing the things that you enjoy, those things don't happen so much, and don't get me wrong, there's still times that you might struggle and there's still times that are going to be difficult. But I think having those things in place helps so much in terms of your willpower and your determination.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that.
Do you find, I know you've mentioned your friends and family quite a bit.
Yeah.
How does that factor into your willpower?
Yeah, massively, like hugely. Like my dad is one of like the most determined people I know. Like he is always like has a goal and he will find a way to achieve that, and I think that's been like a massive inspiration to me, and like the way that like him and like my stepmom there like support me, and like my mum as well, and like what she's done and achieved as well in her life, and like having like a brother and a sister as well, like and seeing that, and I hope to sort of inspire like my nieces and at some point my own children. Like those sort of things will guide me on and inspire me, and like seeing like hopefully like what they like have done as well, and hopefully inspiring them, like that really pushes me on. And then like obviously my friends have been like super supportive. Mentioned Emma and Megan before, like they have big up like genuinely like have had such an impact for me. Like the support they've given in terms of like from Berlin, like that first one when I came back into it, to coming to Chicago, coming to Tokyo. We did a 5K in Tokyo, which I challenged them to in Chicago. Like they'll admit themselves they weren't like runners at all at the time, And I was like, by the time we get to Tokyo, that's like a year and a half away. We'd do the 5K, and we did, and it was an amazing experience to like run around like the Imperial Palace and do that. And yeah, like I say, their support along the way is massive. Like when I've been running races, like knowing that I'm going to see them in 5K and like in the next 5K, and like if people are looking to do their first race, try and get that support, because it's like it's the boost and the energy that you need. And like now, like there's times where I might not have that in a race, and maybe out of my own choice as well. Like there's different reasons, like that you might, like for Valencia, for example, I've been like, I want to just focus on the race that weekend, which is again, is so rare for me to do, because usually it's more about the experience and enjoyment. But like that's a different type of goal that I'm going for, and that's what I want to achieve. But as a result, I feel like I don't want to do like the sightseeing stuff, and I don't want to do that, which I would usually be like so up for. So like, but the idea of them maybe not being there along the course is a concern, because I do love having that boost every like when you're struggling, and
it's
like
huge,
you're
isn't
difficult.
it?
Like it's your body's killing, and you're exhausted, and then you see them, and it's like, oh, what a burst, and it's so kind to have that support. So I'm gonna miss that, and I'm gonna have to try and find that strength elsewhere.
You will do. But it is such a hugely important factor, and I know this is about to be still running related, but it's hugely applicable to any sort of goals that people have. In my own research at the moment, looking at run clubs, one of the huge drivers of people attending run clubs is because the collectivism in inspiration and consistency, by having someone else there that you're doing that and achieving that goal with, and you're finding that joy, that community with that person, it allows you to stay consistent. You're finding joy through other people and your community, which then again, when the motivation dwindles, or the willpower to have to go out on a cold dark night in the context of running, for example, you've got your community to fall back on. And it's just community in every sense is so important.
It is.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah. For someone who might not have that community, or might not have those sorts of connections they can fall back on, but are still wanting to build their willpower. I know we've spoken about these systems, but to you, are there certain tools that someone who might not have those instant connections can do to sort of build that?
So to like build the connections,
to either build the connections, or just sort of try and help their willpower, or try and improve their willpower. Is it through building that community? Is that?
I think that's a massive thing. I mean, as I say, like my running journey until the last few years, it had been mainly me out on my own running.
Yeah.
Maybe coming along with a couple of friends here and there. But like a lot of it was spent on my own, and knowing that I had that support around me has been massive. And that might be in the race itself, like say with the people they're cheering. Also, I know that support's behind me no matter what. Like I know that maybe they might not be there in the race, like in December, but there's going to be other people there as well. But knowing that they're going to be there, like I quite often like that. Like I usually have like my watch on, and I'll be getting like messages as I'm going through. And
I did that for my first marathon.
Yeah, I just love it. I'm like, and whenever people do marathons now or races or anything, I'm always there like messaging them throughout, being like, keep going, like you're smashing it, like, and like, because I know like what that does. Then like some, I hope it has an impact for people as well. But yeah, so like there might be that, but like also something I have developed a lot more, as I say, the last few years, is going to run clubs, going to meet with different people in like that sort of setting, or just like saying to people like, do you want to go for a run? Do you want to do that? And building that is really important, because I've really enjoyed that, and it's something I miss when I'm maybe in a plan or like a training plan, because you can't always get that. You can't always go. We were talking before about obviously the run club that you guys do. And like I want to make sure I come along and be involved with it. Sometimes you can't do that, and so like those times, and maybe where you're gonna have to try and get other people around you to support you, and also like look for people that you trust, look for people that can give you inspiration when you need it, and can hopefully guide you and be there, and just make sure you've got that around you in one way or another. Like for me as well, something I always say to people when they start running is that you should be able to hold a conversation, when you're sort of going for an easy run, and often people are like, well, how can you do that? And it's like, if you can't, slow down. Like it's a big thing. And so as a result, maybe like call somebody when you're on a run, call your friend or call your mum or call whoever, and like just have a conversation with them, so that you're not just out there on your own and you've got that support along the way. So yeah, building those things, and that's important in life, in whatever you're doing. It's not just applying to running. It's about having people around you that uplift you and inspire you. And if that's for me in like obviously in running, but also in like performing and in acting, and having support around me that's been able to lift me up and to be able to guide me along the way. And like we sort of spoke before about people that can do that, and the support that you have is super impactful, I'd say.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I've learned so much today.
That's so cool.
It's always wicked to see how like these sorts of topics are brought back to the pillars and the themes
Every
of what we
time.
talk about at the Mood Booster. But yeah, like even the little tools and tips, whether it's plans, like I now am looking back on things I've done or things I've not done and be like, oh, a plan would work there, or reaching out to someone and doing that.
Yeah.
It's just learning so much. So thank you so much for
Pleasure.
all your
Absolute
knowledge
pleasure.
and
Thanks
your
for having
awesome
me on.
story.
Hope it's
You've got a
helpful.
cool journey so far. And
Thank you.
keen to
So
still
much,
watch it
a
on.
whole. I mean, we spoke a lot about running there, but you do so much beyond that, and you are very modest about it. So yeah, thank you very much. It's super
100%.
cool.
Absolute pleasure, as I say. Thank you for having me on, and I hope it does inspire people, and I hope people take away from it, like say, like there's so much of a big up and all these things that you achieved, but also the person who started that journey would never imagine that, and there's so many things I still want to do that right now seem so difficult, and I hope that I can achieve them because of those things that we've just talked about.
Yeah, for sure. So
Awesome.
inspirational.
Amazing. Goosebumps.
Boosted my mood for sure.
Yeah, boost. Speaking of, as we were saying a little bit before this episode, actually, one thing that we do to bring it right down to improving our well-being and bringing joy to the everyday, we talk about something that's boosted our mood for this week. I'll start with you, Marcus. What is one thing that's boosted your mood for this week?
A very good friend of the Monday Mood Booster Run Club and the Mood Booster in general, Jack Matthews, and his wife Meg have just had their first baby. At the time of recording, I think the baby was born yesterday or the day before.
Wow.
They've got a little son. He was quite overdue, but as Jack said, he said thanks for letting me finish Hastings half marathon first, and then coming along. But huge congratulations to Jack and Meg. That is
Congratulations, Jack and
super
Meg.
super exciting, and
absolutely.
very very happy for you,
Amazing.
Charlie.
Yes. So we were in San Sebastian over the weekend doing a half marathon. We sound like a bunch of runners here. I mean, we are, but alas, we were with the Monday Mood Booster Run Club. We were in San Sebastian over the weekend, and one of our members, Sophia, who was there, got a PB of like 3 or 4 minutes, which was insane, down from 2:15 to 2:12. It was a beautiful city with beautiful food, but even more so, the run itself was great, and seeing her smash it comfortably was
So cool.
elite.
Yeah.
So that boosted
That's
my
pretty
mood
good.
massively.
Nice one, Sophia.
Well done, Sophia.
Congrats
Last
on
but
that
not
as well.
least,
Well done.
Ben.
Ben, what has boosted your mood recently?
Well, it's been a busy couple of weeks. There's been a lot going on. There's an obvious one, isn't it? Like this, I know where you're
Please tell
going.
me.
The listener
Please-
doesn't know
please
yet.
talk about
Does
it.
it relate to what we said earlier in the episode, possibly?
Yeah, it does, I guess. I met Barack Obama.
What the flip? Can you say that again for the listener?
It's just drop that in there. I met big Barack.
Big
boy.
Barack.
Can I hear Ben Kelleher met Barack Obama?
Ben Kelleher did meet Barack Obama. Yeah.
Right in that lens,
Yeah.
please.
Again.
We need to hear
did
it.
I meet him or did he meet me? I don't know.
Exactly.
Barack Obama's actually our first ever listener to
Yeah.
this podcast.
No, we're going for a run later on, so come join.
So cool.
Yeah, no, met him the
What
other
happened?
week.
Why? How? Who?
Right, so say,
Barack Obama,
just,
you're here.
Yeah. One more time.
yeah, just the other day. It's busy like 24 hours. I found out I got into Boston Marathon, which to be honest was a massive moment for me to get in and to be able to do
Congrats,
that.
yeah.
Thank you. I'm so pleased about that. And yeah, 24 hours later, there I am shaking hands with our guy Obama, and
How did it come to be?
so kind of again running related. Running again, like it wouldn't have happened if not for running. Because I met a guy, I don't know if you guys know him, good friend of mine, Jeffrey McKeechan, and we just met on a run, not last January, but the January before. And it was just a friend of ours just was like, oh, does anyone fancy going for a run? And like, that's what we did. And like, we met there. And since then we've become such great friends. And like, we've just like went to Tokyo together and ran the marathon earlier in the year. And yeah, it was basically like, he was like, oh, like Brack's doing a thing at the O2. And
Barack is doing a thing.
First name basis.
Yeah.
Barack Obama.
And he was like, he's doing this thing. He was doing like a talk, and he was like, we can meet him. Do you want to meet him? And
How?
I was like,
That's insane.
yeah, I do want to meet Barack Obama. Like, and weirdly, a couple of weeks before, I'd been to this Chris Hoy talk, me and my dad were talking, and I sort of said to him, who would he like most like to meet or at least see at a talk? And he said David Attenborough. Great one.
Yeah.
And then he said the same to me, and I said Barack Obama.
That's so cool.
And then 2 weeks after, I get this like text, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna meet him in September, and yeah, that's what happened. And he was a great guy.
Insane.
It was
Stand up bloke.
Are you allowed to
Super
say how they're connected or how that happened? Or?
I think like he organized it like through that. I don't know the ins and outs, but yeah, he's, as I say, it was an amazing
That's
experience.
So cool. And how was he? Was he?
He was Barack Obama.
He's cool.
It was pretty. Yeah, it was one of those things where like you could hear him before you saw him as well. So it's like, he's here.
He's got
he's
that
around.
voice, hasn't he?
Yeah. So,
I'm not an impression.
yeah. So yeah, I'm really bad at impressions, even though my acting basis.
Yeah,
Obamacare.
Oh, it's nice to meet you, Ben. No, I can't do it.
Yeah, there was that. He was like, "Oh, what's your name?" And I was like, "I'm Ben." He was like, "Oh, it's great to meet you."
He's someone that would use your name over and over again.
Yeah, he was very much in like, he was like, he wanted to know your name, he wanted to sort of know how it was going, like he was asking about everything else. It's just, yeah, it was one of those just bizarre moments that like after you meet him, you're like, you come out of it and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like that was weird.
So
like,
surreal.
Like just, yeah, because as I say, if I could meet anyone, it was Obama.
Sounds like it boosted your mood.
It definitely boosted my mood.
Well, hearing about it's boosted my mood. That's so flipping cool.
Running for the Boss podcast. Ben Kelleher.
I know. I was like, is there a way I can get him on? Is there a way I can get Obama on? But there was not enough time to.
Slip it into conversation. Do you run?
Yeah, I was like, do I mention it? But another time. I wanted just to enjoy that.
Wow, that would be incredible. Well, that is incredible. You met him, so insane. And congrats on Boston as well. That's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, as I say, that's such a huge achievement. Because it's, Boston is, you have to get on the time, and it's just, for me, it's something I never imagined was possible until I did it in Amsterdam. So
here we are.
Very nice.
Incredible.
Well, Ben, for everyone, thank you first, but for everyone listening, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me on Instagram, Ben Kelleher DNC, so they can find that account that we were talking about before, and hopefully they can see things that inspire them. It's basically a journal of the things I do, and the journey along the way, and the races that I might be involved in, but also the experiences that I might be involved in as well. And yeah, I hope that it basically inspires others to get involved in whatever they want to achieve, and they can see it and they can believe in themselves. And with that, obviously, we have the podcast, Running for the Bus, which they can listen to wherever they listen to podcasts.
Nice.
Whether you're listening to this one right now.
Yeah.
Hop on over.
Exactly. After you've listened, obviously, to this one.
Of course.
And you can watch it as well on YouTube and stuff. So those are the big ones. And then also the show that we put on each year, Tread the Boards, is at the Other Palace. It'll be back next July. And that's all of my musical friends. We've had, people who are like the current Christine and Phantom was there last year, and the current MJ as well, and Michael Jackson and MJ the musical. It was also at it. So like this, I'm very fortunate that I've got lots of friends in musicals and things like that, who agree to these things, and with that you'll also be supporting a great cause and all of that. So
Very cool.
all of those different avenues.
All of those, check them out.
Nice. Well.
Check them out. Well, thank you very much once again.
Yes.
If you two want to do some ASMR
We'll do
into
some
the
ASMR.
microphone.
Thank you so much. Incredible episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. We certainly did.
Thank
Well,
you.
I certainly did anyway.
Yeah.
Right. ASMR.